The story begins with a smartphone store closing down one rainy day. As it turns out, the boss of this store ran off with his sister-in-law, so all phones will be discounted. The guy sat inside the store and hoped he could make at least one sale. Sitting back in his chair, he realized he hadn't sold a single smartphone this month. Suddenly, the TV said that young girls started disappearing in the city. The guy realized that he had to warn his girlfriend about this news. As soon as he dialed her, the girl offered to break up. That's all because our hero didn't make a penny in his store. The guy started promising that he would definitely earn money and buy a new house. But the girl replied that he didn't need to do that and suggested that they forget each other. Our hero wanted to say something to her, but the caller was out of range. At this point, he thought the girl would regret it yet. The guy swore he'd make enough money in 3 years to pay for everything he wanted, and he'd be struck by lightning if he didn't. At the same moment he was struck by lightning and the guy realized he was going to be broke for the rest of his life. He wondered if he was destined to remain a bachelor. Suddenly some voice behind him told him to find himself a wife and there would be no problem. The guy turned around and asked who was talking. The immortal heavenly god of thunder approached him and introduced himself. Our hero thought he must look something different. He asked what this god was doing in his cell phone store. Hearing this, the god was a little surprised. The guy started showing me where he could buy a cell phone. He thought he mustn't miss his chance, for he could make the sale. Our hero showed him the phone and told him it would fit God and there was a super discount on it. God looked at it and asked if they really called it a phone. After that, he pulled out his cell phone and told the guy not to cheat on him. Our hero thought God bought his phone back in the museum of the 90s. God said he still has more to do, so buy a cell phone in the future. After that he disappeared and the guy thought he had some kind of superpowers. Suddenly he looked and saw that half of his phones were broken, but God never paid for them. At that moment his gaze was averted by an incoming call on his phone. He wondered if his girlfriend had changed her mind. But as it turned out, it was a message from the heavenly list. It said that the god of thunder left the heavens and did not return. You can get 2,000 points for any information provided. The guy read the comments on this post and thought it was some kind of forum. He typed that he was struck by lightning in his office, after which he added that the god Beng Xiang was in Jianan City. Jianmu Tianjie threw an invitation to our hero for a private chat and he realized that she wanted to talk to him privately. The guy wrote that he not only saw God, he also visited his store. The girl replied that as damages for the broken phones, the guy could set up store on their property. After that, he was credited with 2,000 merit points. Saw this, and the guy was pleasantly surprised that he really wasn't fooled. Li Xinghe started logging into the app, thinking it was a ploy to steal money. He saw a lot of fascinating things he could buy. Among those items were antique cell phones. They were so expensive that our hero thought if he sold his smartphones here, he could get rich. After which, he saw a golden pill that could instantly increase strength. Since its price was 2,000 merit points, the guy decided to buy it. After that, his hands began to go numb and this pill was in them. Her smell was very strange, it was like pigs in a rural pigsty. Li Xinghe sniffed this pill and vomited. The smell was pretty stinky, but sniffing the pill made him feel a little better. The guy realized that he was becoming more energetic. It seemed to him that some changes were taking place in his body. He couldn't believe that this golden pill had such an effect. Our hero thought that with this elixir he could become omnipotent. He's excited about it, but his goals were too ambitious. Passing by some guys, our hero overheard their conversation. They were discussing the girl who should go that way. The guy remembered that girls had been going missing in town lately. If he provides evidence and manages to identify the suspects, he'll get 100,000 yuan. Since ancient times, our hero has sought riches and danger, and rich and unclean people are as stupid as dogs. The guy decided he could do it, so he went after the hooligans. Li Xinghe decided that he would take pictures of their attacks, then call the police and get his money. The main one of those guys said if his partner was wrong about this girl, he would destroy him. At this point the girl was already walking in the area and the guys started asking her where she was going. Watching this, our hero decided that it was better to call the police. After all, he cannot cope alone. The girl started yelling to the hooligans, if they didn't leave, she would call the police. Our hero recognized this girl beauty from his college he once attended. The girl told the hooligans that soon her personal security will arrive. Well, guys only laughed at these words. One of them added to make her scream, for he wondered what her bodyguard looked like. Li Xinghe came in from behind and said that he was a little late. The girl replied that it was fine and let him go. The bullies thought it was her hidden guard. Our hero put up his hand and told the girl to go home with him. She couldn't believe it, at least he looks better than the bullies. The guys apologized for the misunderstanding and said they were leaving. On the way, the girl said that our hero doesn't look like a bodyguard and if the bully finds out, he's finished. Meanwhile, the hooligans looked at the pole and saw an announcement that our hero was a smartphone salesman. Li Xinghe told the girl that he needed to get out of here quickly. At that moment a blow from the bully flew into his back. The one said he would make our hero regret it. They added that he should stand up and fight back, because he is a fighter and a bodyguard. The girl tells the guys to stop hitting him and he's her bodyguard. Our hero has paid for his life, but he can't give up. The bully replied to the girl that they could let the guy go, but she would have to stay with them. Our hero lay on the ground and realized that he couldn't just look at it. Suddenly, a golden pill rolled out of his pocket. The guy realized he had to get stronger. He swallowed that pill, for he must not allow others to abuse the girl. Feeling a surge of strength, the guy no longer felt the blows with his legs and arms. Now the power is raging in his body and he wants to let it out. He started fighting the bullies and he had an amazing feeling. Seeing this, the girl asked what happened to Li Xinghe. The guy responded by telling her to call the police faster. The bullies told him to stay away from them. But our hero replied that he had warned not to touch the girl. After that, there were only cries for mercy. When the police arrived, they thanked our hero for his bravery. The policeman said that they needed to find out everything first and then Li Xinghe could get his reward. A girl came up to him and said he was awesome and she needed someone like him to protect her. The guy replied that he could be her bodyguard. Now girl wondered if she could afford it. She thanked our hero and apologized for not remembering him. The guy asked why she covered her mouth the whole way, but the girl replied that there was an unpleasant odor coming from Li Xinghe. It smelled like a pigsty. Later that night, the guy couldn't stop thinking that surely Yuanqiu must have a crush on him. Suddenly someone sent him a message and he wondered who could be writing at this late hour. It was his friend Lu Shun who said that our hero had something to see. He sent a photo of his girlfriend dancing with another man. Our hero asked his friend where he took this photo. He needs to settle a score with these two. The guy couldn't calm down. There's a reunion tomorrow and those two are coming. Our hero wanted to let go of the past, but he couldn't. Now because of this news, he can't go to the meeting. He has to figure out a way to get rid of the smell. Li Xinghe wrote a post about the gold pill and that he can't get rid of the smell. Many gods began to reply that our hero had done a foolish thing by buying this pill. The guy looked at them and thought they were really boring. Suddenly he heard the sound of a text message and looked at his phone. It was Tan Sanzang. She said that it was just a side effect for mortals and, it will pass in a few days. She added that the guy can buy elixir to get rid of odor quickly, which costs 100,000. Afterward, the guy asked if that's how you earn merit points. The guy realized that he could only earn them through magical weapons for sale, but he only has dumb phones. But after some thought, he realized it was a good option. He decided to sell the phones for a pill of smells or 100,000 merit points. Then the flower fairy approached him saying that she had a pill of odors. She wanted to buy a phone, but our hero didn't know how to sell it to her. After scanning his phone, the guy couldn't make the sale and got the odor pill. It smelled a lot better than that gold pill. A little later at the Chaiyong Hotel in Wennan, Mr. Zhang began to be asked the secret of his success. He replied that the way is through hardship. His father gave him $100 million to start his own business, and it's all the result of his hard work. He added that he brought a gift for all the beautiful women in attendance. The girls started looking at it and said that their classmate was very generous. They added that they were very happy for Wang Wei. Vidina was able to find a better person than that Li Xinghe. Suddenly, a girl came up to them and said that Li Xinghe was much better than this person. The guys noticed it was the same college beauty. One of the guys said that she had not talked to Li Xinghe before. Did the sun rise from the west today? One of the girls said that Zhang was going to acquire their company, but if that happens, Yu Wanqiu would just quit. Meanwhile, our hero started going to the hotel. Zhang replied to the girl, he hoped she would do what she just said. When our hero went inside, Zhang introduced him to his new girlfriend. The guy had a glass of wine and wished them a good future. Zhang began to prove to Li Xinghe that he is richer than him, so no girl can love him. Suddenly he saw something that made him even more surprised and annoyed. To our hero and approached all the girls and gave him all their attention. Zhang ordered his subordinate to solve this problem and teach the guy a lesson. Our hero just listened to the girls' requests and told them to eat first. Suddenly a subordinate aimed a bottle of wine at his head. Afterward, he got a punch and the girls were shocked. Zhang said that everyone should now focus their attention on him. The guy started to get off his feet and asked who did this to him. Zhang said, if he still had strength, he could fight back. Suddenly a punch from our hero flew into his face. Li Xinghe started fighting Zhang, saying that he had asked for it. His friends were perplexed as to when it was that our hero had managed to become so strong. The guy told the rich man that he could teach him a lesson even though he had no money. The one responded by telling our hero not to go too far and made a retaliatory strike. Wang Wei said that she is no longer our hero's girlfriend and he may not bother her. After which the guy got even more angry and hit his ex-girlfriend. When he left, he said he was on his own now. When he got home, the guy went to the bathroom and noticed that he was missing the injuries he had sustained yesterday. Taking a hot shower on such a hot day, he felt cold for some reason. Suddenly our hero noticed a ghost behind him. He ran out of the bathroom with terror on his face and the ghost of the girl rushed after him. The guy showed the ghost that he was communicating with the gods, so let the ghost stay away. The girl realized that our hero was really seeing her. She was at a loss as to how a normal person could see ghosts. A girl started picking on Li Xin because of his scent. The guy realized he could see ghosts because of taking the pill. He figured he shouldn't let this nonsense haunt him. Our hero tried to inform the fairy, but she was very engrossed in the phone. At this point she sent some kind of video for the guy. Our hero got very angry. Even if she is a fairy and a goddess, he's not in the mood to admire her right now. After watching this video, the guy realized she was prettier than that college girl. But the guy remembered that he should ask how to get rid of the ghost. The fairies showed him Zhang Tianshi, who had created a spiritual power manual that should help. But it's very expensive, even a fairy doesn't have enough merit points to buy it. Li Xinghe, the only thing left is to go to the Monkey King, but he'll have to pay a lot of money too. Our hero asked if the fairy knew the composition of the odor pill. She replied, if he wants to change the composition, let him use yellow spring flowers, but it will greatly reduce the effect of the pill. Our hero has negotiated a sleep that he will pay and 10% from the sale of phones. She will give him the necessary ingredients. At this point, the Monkey King wrote to our hero. Li Xinghe decided to borrow copies of his spiritual power guide in exchange for a new phone. He was surprised that everything was happening so quickly and he had the materials he needed. He had the materials to prepare a dozen pills on his desk. This time, not only would he be able to help Yuan Qiu, but he would also make a fortune himself. After 2 o'clock, the monkey god asked what about the phone. Our hero scanned the cell phone and handed it to the Monkey King. Afterward, he was surprised that a copy of the spiritual power guide came in an electronic version. As soon as he agreed to accept it, he was immediately electrocuted. He found himself in some space and didn't realize what was happening. The guy saw some words in front of him and tried to figure out what they meant. Suddenly, Li Xinghe woke up with a very bad headache. Looking at his phone, he realized he had passed the first level of practice. The guy used to think it was a hoax and it wouldn't help him much, but now he feels completely different. A little while later, our hero called someone and said he was near the company entrance. In the study, Zhang suggested that Mr. He buy out Mr. He's entire share of the company. Mr. He's company is about to go bankrupt and he can't let it stay that way. Suddenly, a secretary knocked on their door and said that the product manager wanted to find Mr. He. He replied that they were having an important conversation and to let her wait. But the girl was already here and showed our hero who has an effective product. Zhang recognized the same guy and asked if it was her classmate. Zhang decided to introduce our hero Mr. Ear and said that he was famous in their university. The guy replied that his cell phone store was doing great. He added that he had the formula devised by a top-notch professional. But Mr. Hai said for those two to get out of here. Walking out of the office, guy said he is confident in his product. If Elon doesn't want to accept it, he will find another company. After that, he said goodbye to Yuan Qiu and said that he had to go. Walking down the street, he pondered what kind of boss is really an idiot, since his product could actually bring in money. Suddenly he saw a flower fairy calling him. She said her fairy friends were interested in the phones. The girl asked if he was willing to provide the goods. She would ask if they wanted them. The guy agreed and said he hadn't forgotten about the interest. At that moment our hero was distracted by an old man who fell on the road. Our hero picked him up and asked if he was okay. Suddenly, the girl texted him to tell Li Xinghe not to mess with this person, because there are strange clouds over his head. Our hero asked if Grandpa had been feeling well lately. Toth replied that he was fine. The guy started asking if he could hear someone talking at night, but no one was around. The old man was shocked at how our hero knew all this. The grandfather said his son's company had been in trouble recently and he didn't know which person had tarnished the reputation. He added if the guy wasn't helped, his grandfather would reward him with money. Li Xinghe replied that helping others was a duty, and they would solve the money issue later. He thought it would be a good idea to help him for money. Bringing the old man home, his son asked why he was crying. As it turned out it was Mr. He, and he asked what our hero was doing here. Mr. He asked if his son also knows this little god. After that, the boy decided to look around, since his grandfather had given him permission. Our hero thought to himself that he wasn't going to let someone hide here. He asked the powers of heaven and earth to help him destroy evil. An old man ran up to him and asked him what was wrong. Suddenly Grandpa's eyes got bright and he asked the candlestick maker to mind his own business. After that, he threw his son off and he didn't realize what was going on. Our hero asked him to stop, but he realized that the old man was possessed by a ghost. Grandpa said his son had destroyed a young girl earlier. Mr. He thought for a moment and realized that his father was talking about Guo Wei Wei. The ghost that possessed Grandpa said it was Mr. Hai who destroyed her while driving drunk. Mr. He replied that she was crossing at a red light, after all, and he too lost money and all these years his family has been down on their luck. Ghost said that Mr. He brought this on himself and she wants him to die like the rest of his family. Our hero jumped into the conversation and told the ghost not to touch Mr. He. But in response to this, the ghost who had taken over Grandpa's body said that they would all be destroyed. The guy realized that her resentment was really quite heavy. So he asked that the sacred treasures hear his call. He asked that they cognize the soul and seal the spirit, whereupon Guo Wei Wei was caught. He began to pull her body from the black clouds and she begged for him to let her go. Mr. He thanked our hero for saving his father. As he left, the boy wondered why they didn't reward him, since they had promised to do so. A little while later, there was some sort of argument in a cell phone store. As it turned out, the two ghosts were arguing amongst themselves over who came first to the master's house. Our hero realized that female ghosts cause more trouble than regular women. The guy asked them to shut up because his spiritual power was too low, each time he could only hold them back for a while. Li Xinghe must think of something or these ghosts will drive him to his death. The guy wrote to support and asked what he should do. For help he will give a phone. God said that Zhang Tianshi can provide a protection kit, but he wants to get the phone immediately. The guy thought that the immortal still didn't know that he had a lot of them, so he immediately started scanning him. After that, he was provided with a set of 5 Yin contemplation oils. Our hero pressed the button to use, for this man in transactions can be trusted. Suddenly the ghosts were in some kind of barrier and didn't realize what was happening. The guy realized that this thing was working really well, now he could sleep soundly. The next morning he woke up and saw that Mr. He had come to see him too early. He's come to thank our hero, and to invite him into the company. Li Xinghe, it seemed hypocritical, yesterday Mr. He kicked him out and today he invites him into the company. The man apologized and said our hero deserved it. The guy responded by telling them not to bring up past ones again. In the company building, our hero handed him the recipe and told him to find someone who would manufacture it. Mr. He said to Mr. Zhang not to be offended, because he just liked this recipe. Thoth in a moment grabbed the prescription and began to read it. After a few seconds, Guy threw that paper away and said even his toilet paper was better than this. In response, our hero said that this recipe is worth at least hundreds of millions of dollars, so let him stumble. Zhang didn't believe these words and said he would give 1 million to the guy if this recipe worked. But if it's the other way around, our hero will have to apologize on his knees and leave this town forever. Li Xinghe agreed and said that if he won, in addition to the 1 million, Zhang would have to run naked down the street. The one agreed and said he was not afraid of our hero. 4 hours later, Zhang asked if his prescription was wrong since nothing had happened yet. At the same moment, Yu Wanqiu entered the office and said that the sample was ready. Mr. He said it doesn't look like a cosmetic product. Our hero answered that it is necessary to take 100 g of Genya powder and 50 milliliters of warm water, after boiling for 3 minutes. Zhang replied not to let the guy get excited ahead of time because there was no telling if it would work or not. The girl wanted to become a test subject, but the guy stopped her saying that she is already fine, she does not need any makeup. Our hero offered to try it out on the cleaning lady and the girl went off to find her. After listening to this suggestion, the cleaning lady agreed. Smelling such a fragrant scent, the cleaning lady realized that she had never smelled something like this before. Even the guys in his office smelled it and our hero realized it must be from the sample. Zhang wondered if this sample was really effective. Suddenly some shouting started and the guys ran towards them. Yu Wanxiu told the cleaning lady not to be afraid and just let her slowly open her eyes. Mr. He thought things didn't go according to plan and said the company would make amends. But as it turned out, the cleaning lady became a hottie and thanked Mr. He. The guys couldn't believe it was really her. He realized that this product is amazing. Afterward he was jumping for joy thinking that now their company was saved. Zhang looked at all this and said that it was impossible. Our hero approached him and said first let him pay 1 million and then everyone will watch him perform on the night. Zhang started to walk away with an annoyed face saying that guy is a damn bastard. A few seconds later, 1 million came to our hero and he and Mr. He continued to rejoice together. Later that night, Zhang was naked and wearing a mask and running from police. Our hero thought that now with this million he could buy more phone. But it's also not much, he'll spend that money quickly. When the cream goes on sale, it will generate half the revenue, but the key now is to figure out how to maximize sales. Suddenly a flower fairy texted him and said other fairies wanted one, so let him quickly prepare 7 phones. The guy asked if she knew any celebrities, since he needed help with PR. The fairy texted him the video and told him to put it on the internet and it would go viral. At that moment, our hero got a call from a friend. He said he was celebrating his birthday today and had arranged to meet a few girls. The guy asked why Lu Shun was going to a blues bar and suggested we go to Bar Diamond. A friend was shocked at this offer, as it's one of the most expensive bars in town. A little later coming to the bar, my friend was surprised that a bottle of wine costs $680, as it turned out this is the cheapest wine in this bar. Some of the visitors told Lu Shan not to pretend to be rich in front of such beautiful girls. The girls' looks changed and they asked if they really had to pay for all of this. The very same visitor came to them and suggested that the girls go to his table. Leaving, the girl was angry with our hero's friend. That one was also angry, because he didn't understand why our hero hadn't come yet. Suddenly, Li Xinghe grabbed his shoulder and asked why there were no girls around him. Our hero realized that his girlfriend was taken by a glance at a nearby table. At this point, the announcer said that table number 66 won the most expensive bottle of wine. The waiter approached the guys and apologized for not noticing their table right away. The guy ordered the waiter to bring in the prettiest girl and get his friend drunk. The girls at the next table were in shock and didn't understand what was going on. A charming girl came over to Lu Shun and said that it was his turn to drink. Our hero said he was the one who invited all these beauties and if there wasn't enough room, they could sit on his lap. Lu Shun blushed and one of the girls said that she was sorry. He wept with joy, thinking what a good friend he had. After a good night out, our hero walked his friend's girlfriend to a cab. Suddenly, a few guys came up to them and asked if Li Xinghe had decided to insult them. Our hero realized that it was Chao Heng-yi who said that he was busy right now. But the guys wouldn't listen and decided to destroy our hero. He began to beat back their attacks and dispatch one by one. One of the guys called the police station and said they were being beaten up. Suddenly he was hit in the face so hard that his phone fell out and his glasses shattered. When the policeman arrived, he asked why our hero was always getting into trouble. The guy asked the policeman if he was okay and if he was feeling well at home. The one replied that the case of the girl's disappearance had not yet been solved, so he was a little annoyed. The policeman added for our hero to think better of himself. This time people have been badly hurt and he will surely have a trial. The same guy called Mr. Hai and said they were beaten up. He added that our hero didn't care that they were from their company. Mr. He asked who it was, for no one would dare to cross his men. Hearing that it was Li Xinghe, Mr. He was surprised. He officially announced that Chen Xiaotan would now be fired. The next day, Mr. He called our hero and apologized for yesterday. He added that he fired Chen Xiaotan and hoped the guy was not hurt. Our hero replied that it was fine, but he didn't want to pay for their medical expenses. Suddenly, some girl came to him and asked if he was Li Xinghe. The guy answered that it was him in person. The girl's name is Tang Xiaoshi. She heard that our hero can exorcise ghosts. Looking at her figure and appearance, the guy realized that she was not behind Yuanqiu in anything. Not many people know that he can exorcise ghosts, so how could she know that? The girl replied that she was told about it by Mr. He Yi, who is He Jian's father. Our hero apologized and said he was not a monk to exorcise ghosts. Tang Xiaoshi said, if the guy can really help, she is willing to pay well for the job. Li Xinghe wondering if there were too many rich people approaching him. The girl added that she was willing to pay 10 million. As it turned out, this was only an initial payment. Once completed, he would be given shares in the company and another 10 million. The girl didn't understand why our hero was so excited about this 10 million. The guy said he'd pick up the stuff, then they'd go. Tang Xiaoshi said that there was no need to gather, as this place was in their city. After which she asked for a demonstration of his strength, because at first angry he didn't look like a master. Our hero agreed, but don't let the girl regret it later. After a moment, she asked for him to take his hands off her, which he had just used to touch her underwear. Then he gestured to the ghost that was flying over the girl. The guy asked if she felt a shiver running through her body. Tang Xiaoshi thought he turned on the air conditioner. At this point, our hero thought he wanted to show her the ghosts. He activated the mental mirror technique and asked the girl to look around. She replied, if Li Xinghe tried to do anything to her, she would regret it. As soon as she turned around, she immediately started screaming at what she saw. Our hero added that there would be more ghosts later. Tang Xiaoshi started hurting from fear and the guy told her to be careful. Suddenly she dropped and transferred 10 million into our hero's bank account. Since he had proven his abilities, the girl offered to follow her. Li Xinghe offered to bathe, because he has hot water, but the girl refused, saying he's a pervert. The girl added that she would be waiting for him in a red Ferrari in 5 minutes at the intersection. He wondered what he had done wrong. After all, he just wanted to take care of her. But still he made as much as 20 million, now he has a fortune. Walking down the road, the girl wondered how her grandfather could recommend such a person. Meanwhile, some master was trying to cure grandfather. He asked that the heavens and the sacred earth help him destroy this foul thing. Tang Xiaoshi's relatives stood and watched this. One girl thought that the old man was unlikely to recover and suggested that it will be settled. Tang Xiaoshi's father said that the second brother spent a lot of money, therefore, the old man will remember his concern. The one replied that any money would be changed if there was any hope of saving their father. At this moment, the master had already finished his work and the second brother hoped that his power would help them. Suddenly the master was distracted by a beautiful girl. He lied that he was seriously injured by the ghosts that surrounded him. The master showed some monster and said that it was the devil who had harmed their family. His relatives thanked him and said he was worthy of the title of God. Suddenly, our hero and Tang Xiaoshi walked into the room. Her father asked where she had been and who she had brought with her. Our hero said that that master is a good actor and it is not clear why he is admired. Hearing this, the relatives asked what the guy meant. Second brother said let the master explain everything. Thoth replied, so that the relatives would not let themselves be fooled by our hero. Walking up to the devil, the guy asked if it could be an inconvenience. Li Xinghe began to activate the mental mirror technique. After that, the devil turned into a small puppy. Our hero showed that the master was in fact a liar. He added that it's actually low-level illusion magic. The master replied that it was outrageous and he would show the guy some real power. He said he has received many awards since he started working, so you can't compare him to our hero. Master walked over to Li Xinghe and said, let her explain why Elder Tang is sick. The master wondered how our hero would get out of this situation. The guy replied that it was very simple, Elder Tang was too old. Master was shocked, did Li Xinghe really dare to say this? The girl asked if what he said was true. In response, our hero swore with everything he had. The relatives decided it would be better to save time and divide all his property. The servants were told to find and bring the old man, for he might already be dead. Suddenly, Tang Xiaoshi's father shouted for everyone to calm down, for they were going to bury their father because of our hero's words. One of the men added that the hospital told them the same thing and the old man had about 2 days to live. The second brother added that Tang Xiaoshi's father must have arranged today's show, because the old man trusted him the most. But luckily the old man is not blind and noticed how the second brother invited Tao Xingming and promised him all the territory in Hong Kong. The master realized that he was just a tool for show. Tang Xiaoshi asked her, has their conscience gone? After all, they only want to snatch a bigger piece and don't care about grandpa. Our hero told the girl not to be so impulsive. He added that he only spoke about his condition, but didn't say he couldn't save him. The girl asked, wondering if he could really save her grandfather. Li Xinghe replied that it would be easy since she had already paid him the money. The master asked if our hero wanted to go against the laws of nature and prolong the life of an old man. Suddenly he noticed that the spirits that take people's souls after death had already arrived. Now he had very little time left and needed to hurry. The girl's spirit asked if that kid could really see them, but the other replied that pathetic humans don't have that kind of ability. Suddenly our hero entered the room and told them to stop. The spirits asked how he dared to interfere with them. The spirit girl made sure the guy could actually see them. However, there is no ghostly energy on our hero's body and he doesn't look like a ghost. The master told him to stop his show, for there are no spirits here. He added that he would now show his skill and subdue Yang Wan. The spirits were shocked at his words. How could he insult the Lord of the Realm of the Dead? They decided they'd beat him to death for doing such a thing. Our hero said that it was not he who beat him, but the very spirits. If it was really so, the master asked him to help him and then he would be worshipped. Suddenly, the guy noticed something happening to Grandpa Tan. The girl's spirit told the guy to cooperate with them and not interfere with their work. Li Xinghe shouted for the girl not to touch the pout. Suddenly, Tang Xiaoshi came over and asked what our hero was doing. The relatives were at a loss as to who he was talking to and whether he was trying to deceive them. Li Xinghe asked the girl to leave this room and prevent others from entering here. After that, the doors slammed shut and the relatives couldn't understand why they had to listen to this dude. Everyone stared at Tang Xiaoshi and said that this was her plan to take all the property for herself. The girl wondered why her close-knit family had become like this. She just wants to save her grandfather, after all. At this point, the girl's father said for everyone to listen to our hero. He added that no one should enter the room until the guy is out of there. Our hero turned to the spirits and asked them to let the old man go. The spirit guy replied that Li Xinghe was ignoring the laws of the underworld. The girl added, even though our hero is handsome, she still wouldn't dare to let her grandfather go. The guy said his soul isn't fully theirs yet, so they won't be able to take it away so quickly. The spirits replied that he was right. This is how an old man's life ends, nothing can help anymore. In that case, the guy said he'd have to stop them. But he didn't understand what he should do with the old man's soul. The spirits began to laugh, for a mere mortal is trying to go against the will of the heavens. At this moment, Li Xinghe wrote the message, asked if there was a way to bring the soul back into the body. But none of the gods and could not give a normal answer. Suddenly, he saw a message from Zhang Tianshi, who advised him to use the resurrection pills. The guy asked how many merit points to pay for this pill. After hearing it was worth 500,000, our hero agreed to the deal. He only did so because of the fact that Zhang Tianshi sells really high-quality items. After that, the resurrection pill appeared in his hands. The spirits looked at it and were shocked. Could this really be the pill that was lost centuries ago? The spirits saw that he wanted to give this pill to the old man and decided they had to stop him. But they didn't have time to do that and Grandpa swallowed the pill. After that, the spirits said they would report it to the management and our hero would be in big trouble. Whereupon the master requested that our hero accept his apprenticeship. He added that the lad might be conscience-stricken for not wanting to take him on as an apprentice. After a while, Grandpa was already awake. He said our hero was so young and promising a lot and asked if he was married. Li Xin replied that unfortunately no and he is single for now. Tang Xiaoshi said to the old man, just let him pay him the remaining amount and no need to question him. Suddenly, the guy's phone rang. It turned out to be Yu Wanqiu. The girl said she was grabbed and held in some black car and asked for help. Our hero started to leave saying he had some urgent business to attend to. Tang Xiaoshi started to catch up with him telling him to take her with him. Sitting in the car the girl asked if it was Wanqiu who called him that he was so anxious. The guy replied that his relationship with her is similar to his relationship with Tang Xiaoshi, so where do such questions come from? The girl replied that he was so greedy and lustful, so she was worried suddenly he divorced some girl. Suddenly a car passed by them in which our hero noticed his girlfriend. He told Tang Xiaoshi to turn around and catch up with that black car. She asked, and sure enough it was the right car, and at that speed it's hard to see who's in the cabin. The guy replied that his whole body was improving and even his eyesight was at its best. Hearing this, Tang Xiaoshi hesitated a bit, but the guy asked her to look carefully at the road. After catching up with this car the guy ran to it, but there was no one inside. The girl speculated that Wanqiu might be in the house. They started to enter the house and the girl thought it was a break-in. Tang Xiaoshi didn't expect to accompany our hero looking for his girlfriend. They walked into a dark room and the girl began to scream a little in fear. But Li Xinghe shined the phone and asked if everything was all right. The girl replied for him to shine the light on the ground. As it turned out to be a woman's belongings, our hero thought it might be connected to the case of the disappearance of the girls. Suddenly they were surrounded by a gang of thugs in black suits. One of them ordered our hero to be destroyed and the girl to be captured. The girl told our hero to run away and call her grandfather, but the latter replied that he would not involve him in such a trifle. At the same moment the bandits attacked the guy and he started fighting them off. The ringleader replied that he had very good skills and aimed his gun. The mysterious man put a gun to the main character's head and asked where they hid the girl. Then, the man asked if the protagonist thought he could still ask questions. At this moment, the girl turned to Li Xinhe and told him not to take any risks or else they would both die. The guy then offered the man a deal. Li Xinhe explained that he didn't want to lose the girl they captured and was willing to trade her for this one. Then she heard it all, and cried out, would the protagonists really do this to her? But he silenced her and began to molest her, regretting that he himself had not had time to satiate her properly. But the mercenary said that if a guy really wanted to save his life that badly, 2 girls wouldn't be enough. Li Xinghe interjected, is there any other condition? The blue-haired man noticed how outstanding the protagonist's skills were and suggested he join them. Then the guy shrieked that there was no problem with that, and he'd actually dreamed of joining something like that all his life. Then he turned around and started begging for the man to let the protagonist serve himself. The mercenary was blown away by this decision and started laughing, saying that the kid was smart enough. But at some point, Li Shihio grabbed the hand with the perpetrator's gun and pointed it at the girl standing next to him. He fired, but the protagonists managed to redirect the bullet in the other direction. Then the criminal started yelling and shooting at the protagonist without realizing what he was trying to do. At that second, another accomplice ran into the room and said that the police were coming to grab them. A subordinate asked what they should do with the girl they were storing upstairs, but Liang replied that there was no time for her. The girl started to help Li Xin. And the man explained that it was really all just a performance and part of his plan. The girl shouted with a satisfied face that she hated the protagonist and then tapped him right in his wounded shoulder. One more hit like that and the protagonist would have been killed for sure. And the girl at that moment thought that the guy standing in front of her wasn't so bad. After some time had passed, Li Shihio kicked the door to the room where they were holding the Wangqiu. As soon as they untied the girl, she immediately started hugging the protagonist. In the next scene, they were already talking to a police officer, at which they had to make excuses, because the police had not had time to capture the criminals. The guy asked the officer if this was the work of the gang that was kidnapping the girls. The officer said it probably was. Look, it's the main character who's noticed that the black fog over Ch Jin's head is getting thicker and thicker every day. At this time, Tang Xiaoshi walked over to Yu Wangqiu and remarked how beautiful she was. And in turn, Yui also noticed how beautiful the girl in front of her was, and realized that the protagonist had been dating a rich girl behind her back all this time. Yui decided that no matter how it was, she would not give in to her rival, and then the girls exchanged barbed pleasantries. The girls continued to argue, both realizing that each had a tongue lashing for this kind of talk. Each of them realized that a worthy opponent stood before her and their battle would be legendary. During all these conversations, at some point they didn't notice where the main character disappeared to. And the one in turn, already began to lose consciousness from blood loss, but he managed to say that the girls should still hurry to help him. After some time, the protagonist was added to the #1 hospital of the city of Vino. The doctor said they removed both bullets that were in the main character's body, and the captain explained everything so they wouldn't find out the details. Hearing all this, the protagonist asked the question, where are the two girls that brought him here? The man said they both got bodies and left in the morning when they saw the protagonist sleeping soundly. The nurse said that his condition and the guys will have to stay in the hospital for at least 3 days, and also he should not overexert himself. The guy realized that even if he explained to them that he could recover overnight, they would think he was some kind of alien. In such a case, the protagonist has no choice but to obediently pretend to be sick. His loitering was interrupted by a semirobe who said they already had enough points and each wanted a phone. But there was a small problem, the guy couldn't leave the hospital and so he had to send Li Shun. As soon as Li Sen explained the situation to his friend, he immediately yelled what the protagonist was doing in the hospital and why the hell he was already selling his smartphones there. At some point the guy was distracted by the TV. There was a report on some girl who had captured the attention of the entire internet. The bottom line is that the video was posted by a user with the nickname Sinhayo and is now being called the god of PR. The girl in the video was just extraordinary beauty and danced magnificently, and after the popularization of this video there was even a separate genre of dancing. At this point, the realization came to the protagonist that he had become an internet celebrity. A lot of people are wondering who these two are and almost all companies are willing to sign this girl and PR god for any money. When the guy decided to look on his phone about this situation and found out that even the stars started to imitate them. Since absolutely everyone started discussing them due to such popularity, the main character had a lot of comments. Seeing all this, the guy realized that next time he shouldn't ask her to help himself. A couple seconds later, there was a knock on the ward and the main character's friend brought the guy a box with all the phones in it. Once a friend notices that the protagonist has been beaten up by someone, he says he will find that person at any cost and drive him to utter despair. But Lee said it was nothing like that, and he just fell into the pit last night. The guy agreed, They had a demolition in their neighborhood recently and most likely the builders didn't have time to rebuild the lights, so the guy needs to be careful. The dialogue gradually shifted to the main character's job, but the guy replied that there is no problem with it now, because he has a good part-time job that pays a lot. This really interested his friend and the guy said that a company was short of a sales director, he just needed to inform Yu Wangqiu about it. This made the buddy very happy and he decided to go there right away. At that moment some girl was walking down the corridor and talking on the phone discussing the fact that someone was about to be discharged. The guy was in such a hurry to get to his new job that he didn't notice the girl and they both collided, after which the kid started apologizing. The girl was very angry that the guy just apologized, and she thought to herself what would happen if she called the police right now. The girl got off her feet and continued talking to someone, telling them that she had just been knocked down by some freak. She started to get even more puffed up and said that she had just been discharged but now the pain was amplified again. The guy decided to ask if the girl needed help, because he could take her to the doctor, but that wasn't what she was interested in. She turned the camera around and showed everyone the face of the person she said hit her. The kid started explaining to everyone that it was just an accident, but no one was interested. The girl turned to the viewers and told them not to write anything and just pay for her treatment. The guy quickly realized that she was just drawing attention to herself and taking advantage of her beauty. Then he decided to get justice and decided to take away her phone to explain to all the viewers what she was doing. But at some point he was struck in the face by a mop, which vaulted him to the ground. Half the hospital gathered at the noise, and everyone immediately began to think that there was a pervert and some hooligan in front of them. People gagged the guy, and some people even started to recognize little Yaya. It turned out there were enough fans of her in this hospital. One overly pumped-up admirer decided to find out better why the guy was hitting on the girl. The one did not understand why he was all this. The streamer at that moment only smiled and filmed the beating, thinking that her stream must have become a hit. At this time in the ward, the protagonist handed the fairies their last phone, but at some point he was distracted by a noise from the hallway. Heard the screams, the main characters heard Lu Shun's voice. He ran out into the hallway, and quickly approached the crowd to see what was going on here. What he saw was beyond description. The pumped-up fan said that only when she finally turns the guy into a girl, only then will he stop hitting on little Yu. At one point, all this movement was stopped by orderlies who accidentally let a psychiatric patient out. And the jock only shouted in the girl's wake that she should never forget him, for he is a devoted fan of hers. The protagonist asked Lu Shan if he was okay, but the latter replied that he could never look people in the face again. The main character said his friend's face is fine, just a little gross to look at. Li Shinjo then shouted after the streamer to stop. The girl had done this to a person and just wants to leave. She explained that the guy pushed her first, so he totally deserves it. The protagonist interrupted her satisfied face and said she should apologize to him right now. That's when she wrapped the camera a second time and told her brothers that that bully's accomplice had shown up and they were both trying to grab her. The protagonist's face lit up in front of the multi-million streamer, and the girl added that she has 1,000 witnesses and he has nothing to back up his point. She then said that basically the guys can do whatever they want, because her fans will most likely straighten them out. At this point, the protagonist turned to her and asked her if she thought that if she was popular, she could do whatever she wanted. She didn't say anything, but the guy noticed the camera in the corner of the room and realized he was about to teach her a lesson. After some time, the protagonist's girlfriend brought him the CCTV footage as he requested. She also dug up some information about her. She's such a popular streamer that even if the main character puts this video on the internet nothing will change. But the guy said he had everything under control, but suddenly the girl added that there was no way she would have come here if her grandfather hadn't asked her to help him. And then she handed the guy a gift from his grandfather, who is a howler of a Mercedes. The girl didn't understand what was wrong with the guy. her head it's just a car that costs a little over $1 million, in her opinion there's nothing to be happy about. Then, once again, the guy was distracted by a phone call. It turned out to be Lou with bad news. It's only been a few hours since their last encounter, but now the protagonist's phone store has been completely destroyed. Our hero asked in an angry voice who did it. His friend passing by the store said that it was Ye's fans and it was better for the guy to hide now for a while. The one was very angry and said they wouldn't get away with it. He figured the Stremersha was way out of line, but since it went like this, let her not blame him for being rude. The guy was sitting in the hallway and started uploading some video saying he was a PR god and wanted to open everyone's eyes. After looking at the cover of this video, the commenters realized that they had been fooled by little Ye all along. A little while later, the girl launched the airwaves and the host started introducing her. She said to Ye, "Don't be afraid, because the fans support her," so they decided to check it out. What was their surprise after they looked at the comments? The girl didn't understand how this could have happened and why her fans had turned against her. The presenter said that due to some problems, the issue will have to be suspended. She took a call from someone and said she would relay everything to the girl. As it turned out, little Ye had angered the god of PR. He has an incredibly beautiful model and all companies want to sign him. The presenter added that their company wanted to support the girl in her debut but she messed it up. So there is only one way out, she should apologize to the god of PR and ask him to remove this video. The presenter added that she needs to do it at all costs. If she succeeds, have her draw our hero into their company. Little Ye about herself, she said that she was not so easy to break. Late at night, our hero saw the nurse and told her to change her outfit. The girls said the guys need to take their temperature. Who asked why it should be measured, because there's nothing wrong with him. Ye disguised as a nurse said to check it out and offered to measure it. She leaned in front of the guy and said she was a little clumsy. Suddenly he realized that this voice was familiar to him. Taking off her mask, he realized that it was Ye. The girl apologized saying she came to apologize to him. The guy looking at her form asked if this was really how she wanted to apologize. The girl added, if he forgave her, she would do anything. Looking at her breasts, our hero thought her sin was not so great. Suddenly his gaze was repelled by a bottle standing on the table. At that moment he realized that the girl was trying to set him up. The guy noticed the camera after all and waited for the girl to explain herself. She said she was sorry, because she just wanted to take some intimate shots so she could blackmail the guy later. The man replied that the apology was worthless and he could call the police now. The girl replied if he didn't delete the video, she would kill herself. Our hero replied that he would never forgive her because of what she had done before. Li Xinghe suggested that she should take some photos of herself in this costume, because if it was seen on the internet, she would definitely become more popular. Suddenly her phone rang and she said she had to answer it. The girl got a call from her sister asking where she was. Ye replied that she was sleeping at home. Her sister reminded her that her father still had debt hanging over his head and her mother was in the hospital. If she doesn't get the PR god to delete the video, the girl may not come to her. After hearing this, the guy forgave her after all and told her he wouldn't spare her next time. He added that he felt sorry for those she is doing this for. If he reaches out to her, it will help those in this desperate situation as well. The little girl replied that she would return the favor to him in the future, so she would not thank him now. Our hero reflected that she looked pretty cute, but she went down a dirty path. The next day, Li Xinghe was told he could be discharged from the hospital. Tang Xiaoshi pulled up in a car and said her grandfather asked her to help him. The guy got behind the wheel and the girl was surprised that he had driven a car before. Our hero reflected that he could not disgrace himself before her by his ineptitude. Suddenly, they saw Yuanqiu at the crossing. She thought the guy was a good goal-oriented person, but it turns out he's just living in a rich family. The girl realized that she had fallen in love with the wrong person and was stupid. Getting out of the car, he asked if she had come to congratulate him on his discharge, but Wancho said she was just passing by. She added that she would not interfere with them on their date. Suddenly, Tang Xiaoshi asked the girl how dare she consider our hero as her boyfriend. Ta replied that they were riding around town in the same car in broad daylight, so it couldn't be denied. The guy told the girl not to talk nonsense and let her say straight what she wants to say. He was very pleased, for there were two beauties vying for him. Tang Xiaoshi realized that Wanqiu still thought they were a couple and decided to tease her even more. She told our hero to use her gold card, but he didn't understand what was happening to her. The girl added, and for him to take it, for she admires him greatly. Seeing this, Yu Wanqiu left saying that Li Xinghe was shameless. When she left, the guy asked if what Tang Xiaoshi said was true, but in response, the girl asked for her card back. She also let me borrow his car saying she would return it soon. At which point the foreman drove up and said he had come to pick him up from the hospital. Already on the road, our hero asked where the master was taking him, because this is not the right road, his house is in the other direction. Master replied that the boy was attentive, he led him to the Taoist Association's sharing meeting. Meanwhile, another much respected gentleman arrived at the association. It was Doa's master Dui Zhenren. He had heard that the leader of the organization had also invited Tao Xingming. Cui Gongyuan replied that it was a mistake due to ignorance. Master Dui said it doesn't matter and the old man will put it back in place again, just like he did 10 years ago. At this time, our hero and Master Tao arrived and got out of the car. Our hero turned to the master saying not to call him master anymore. As it turned out, Master Tao brought the guy here to help him deal with an opponent he lost to 10 years ago. Suddenly they heard someone not being let into the organization. The girl said that without an invitation to the Taoist Association, they couldn't let in. The man replied that he must have received an invitation, for all Taoists must attend. The girl said she couldn't check if he had powers or not. Then the man set out to prove it. Suddenly something started happening to her and she had the sensation of someone sitting on her back. The man asked if she now realized that he could come in. Li Xinghe saw this bastard bullying ordinary people and decided to help. The guy used his skills and started helping the beauty get rid of the invisible force. The master said the man wouldn't leave if he tried to hurt anyone again. The one replied that he had just opened the girl's eyes, he had nothing else to do but show his power. The master replied that the man had made a violation of the Taoist code by harming an ordinary person. Besides, our hero liked this girl and maybe she can become a wife to the master. The guy blushed and asked what the hell he was talking about. Li Xinghe said he was just protecting the girl from his bullying. Just then, Mr. Cui came in and asked who it was that Master Tao had brought. The man replied that his name was Wu Hai and asked if he could come in uninvited. Suddenly, Xiaoling fell to the ground and seemed to have lost consciousness. Our hero said that her body is overflowing with energy and it is very dangerous, so let her be taken to his room. Later in the hallway, the girl's friend asked if our hero could cure Xiaolin. Hearing that the guy was so young and talented, the girl was very surprised. The master replied that he too had such power and was an idol among all Taoists. So he asked if the girl wanted to get to know each other better. But in response, she got angry and told the master not to touch her again. In his room, Li Xinghe began undressing the girl to transfer his qi. Suddenly she woke up and asked why she was naked and in here. The guy replied that she was over-energized, so he had to do it. The girl replied that it was very hot and she felt like she was on fire. Li Xinghe replied that it was a temporary effect and her hormones were starting to release heavily. Xiao Lin snuggled up to the guy and said that she wanted to thank him for his help. Watching this out of doors, the master said that our hero had figured out a great way to win the girl. Suddenly Mr. Chui came up to him and asked him what he was doing here and where his master was.